Well, churches, schools, and hospitals, Hamas uses all three as cover for its operations in Gaza, including its main base underneath the largest hospital. Hundreds of terrorists are also hiding behind human shields. George Thomas reports from southern Israel.
Dr. Nasser Bulbul, head of the NICU at Al-Shifa, Gaza's largest hospital, says they are on the verge of running out of critical supplies to keep some of their most vulnerable patients alive.
We do not know what to do, as we are facing a severe shortage of medical supplies, ventilators, and essential life-saving medicines.
While Gazans continue to face severe shortages deep beneath Al-Shifa hospital, Israel says Hamas has stored up ample food, water, fuel, and other critical supplies, including weapons, to carry out its war against the Jewish state.
Hamas terrorists operate inside and under Shifa hospital and other hospitals in Gaza with network of terror tunnels.
The IDF releasing this animated video claiming that the terror group operates its command and control headquarters from several underground complexes beneath Al-Shifa.
Hamas also has an entrance to those terror tunnels from inside the hospital wards, meaning from different places of the hospital you can go into an underground tunnel that will provide you shelter.
The Islamist militant group which controls the Gaza Strip has been using human shields in conflicts with Israel since 2007.
I know what it feels like to be used as a human shield. Back in 2014, during Israel's war with Hamas, I was in Gaza City, and almost every night I could see Hamas fighters assemble, then fire off their rockets from the basement of my hotel. Hamas knew without a shadow of a doubt that the Israelis would not target the hotel because it was filled with foreign journalists.
A captured Hamas fighter who infiltrated Israel on October 7th, telling interrogators that the terror group uses hospitals like Al-Shifa to hide their fighters and weapons because such places are often teeming with civilians.
I told you, Shifa is a safe place. It will not be struck. To them, it is safe. And that is what we know.
And it's just not hospitals. Hamas often uses structures closest to schools, mosques, and even churches, from which they can hide weapons, fighters, and launch rockets. On October 20th, a prominent Greek Orthodox church in Gaza City sustained heavy damage when Israel hit the headquarters of a Hamas commander. The IDF releasing this video of the strike to CBN News, telling us that the terrorist home was 50 meters from the church. The ensuing explosion destroying a part of the church and reportedly killing 18 Palestinian Christians.
Hamas not only endangers the lives of Israelis, civilians, but also exploit innocent Gazan civilians as human shield. The IDF will continue making efforts to minimize harm to civilians' population and will continue to act in accordance with international law.
George Thomas, CBN News, along the Israel-Gaza border.
George Thomas now joins us from Siderat near the border with Gaza. So, George, you were in Gaza back in 2014. So what can you tell us about the precautions that Israel takes to limit civilian casualties?
Well, I mean, Gordon, while I was there, they used three specific tactics. Number one, they individually call up people who are living in a particular apartment that they are about to strike. Within about 2 hours before they strike, they literally call every single person in that apartment to tell them, get out. If they don't do that, the second thing they do is they drop thousands of these leaflets around the strike zone, so to speak, again, telling them you need to get out within the next 2 hours. And then the third thing they do is that they drop these, Gordon, these small little bombs on the top of the building that in essence shakes the building, doesn't destroy it. Again, another tactic to get the civilians, the innocent civilians, out of this place. And those who watch wars and have studied wars for many, many years will say, you know, what country in the 21st century today will deploy these sorts of tactics in a war situation, in the middle of a military operation, to try and mitigate, to diminish innocent civilian lives caught in the crossfire. These are the tactics tactics that Israel has been using. Now, in this situation with the war full scale on, they have been every day, they're telling more and more residents from the northern part of Gaza. This is where I'm about a half a mile away from the town of Bet Hanun, which is right across the ravine here. And in essence, they've been telling them every day, there are still civilians in there. They're telling them to move further south. The numbers are probably about 2 million people have so far done that. But there are hundreds of thousands of people who are still in this region. And let me just tell you, Gordon, in the last 48 hours, when we rolled up here to the border of Gaza, most of the activity was taking place pretty close, about a half a mile away from us. But today, what's different in Israel's military operations, we are seeing, Chuck, if you can pan for a second, we are seeing the explosions further and further away from us to some of the other, maybe the northern suburbs of Bet Hanun. Again, this idea that they're slowly expanding their military operations to gain more land and more territory. Gordon?
Is Hamas still firing rockets into Israel? Is that still happening?
Yeah, absolutely. Just about 10 minutes before we came on the broadcast, probably about 5-6 of them right in this location just fired off. And, you know, we all have this red alert app that as soon as a missile launches from the Gaza Strip, an alert comes out. And we saw the alert that one or two missiles were actually headed to Jerusalem. My understanding, talking to Chris Mitchell in our Jerusalem bureau, the IDF was able to deploy the Iron Dome, and they were intercepted. But yeah, they do. What typically happens, we've noticed over the last 3 days, is that when there's a lull in Israel's military operation, that's when the Hamas terrorists will come out of their tunnels, quickly launch these missiles, crude missiles, and then go back in. But then what we noticed in the last 10 minutes, Israel, as soon as they noticed, they identified the location of those missiles being launched, Israel, within about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, will hit that target.
Do you have any idea how long this is going to last? I know that Netanyahu is saying it's going to last for a very long time. Is that what you're seeing on the ground?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we go by what Benjamin Netanyahu has said all along since the October 7th attack, he has made it his mission to completely eliminate Hamas. Now, he may not be able to destroy the political ideology, because you're going to see a lot of people who continue to swear allegiance to Hamas. But I think what he's speaking of is to destroy the governing ability of Hamas. So what they're doing is, as Chris mentioned, they're trying to divide Israel in two. The Gaza Strip into two. And if you were to look at the map of the Gaza Strip, the Wadi Gaza, which is a main river that cuts through Gaza, but running to the Mediterranean, everything north is where the Israelis are currently targeting. So they're coming in from the east, coming in from the north, and then coming in from the east, and sort of creating this pincer movement, encircling the northern part of Gaza, and in essence trying to destroy the governing ability of Hamas down the road. So the capital city, Gaza City, is right down here. So just destroy the infrastructure. And again, the Israelis have said they have no intention of occupying the Gaza Strip. Their idea is that once they've completely decimated Hamas, they're attempting to reboot Hamas and see like a 2.0, so to speak. You see an explosion, you can hear the Israeli fighter jets, and they've just dropped a bomb right in that location, very close to where the Hamas terrorists have been launching their missiles from. So again, it's a very slow, methodical. They're not rushing, taking inch by inch, village by village, block by block, and that's why I think Netanyahu is warning the residents of Israel that this is not going to be a quick fix, that this is going to take quite a long time.
Well, George, let me warn you, please take shelter. When you start hearing that kind of sound behind you, it might be a good idea to get off the air. So thanks for joining with us, and please stay safe.
Well, you're welcome.
All right. Well, I just want to remind everyone that we're in a battle that is ideological. George said it. I mean, can Israel take out Hamas's ability to govern Gaza? I think the answer is yes. But the ideology seems to have spread around the world. So what can you and I do? Well, we can stand against that. So when you hear that Israel is some kind of apartheid state or a genocidal state or anything like that, please stand against it. And please call it for what it is. The people voicing that are supporting an Islamic death cult called Hamas. It's time for this ideology to stop. It's time for the entire world to recognize, including the Islamic world, Israel has a right to exist, and we are here to defend it.